All right, we are back with another episode of The Desert Shift. This is episode 6. Today, I am joined by another high-performance member of our high performance here in Arizona. It is Michael Paesani here. Thank you very much for being on. Appreciate your time. How you been enjoying Driveline so far, man?
Dude,
how's everything going?
It's been a blast.
You like it?
I was just saying this to our sports science intern Wes today. I was like, dude, I feel like I'm learning so much, and I also feel so dumb at the same time. Like it's wild.
The more you know, the less you know. I feel like the more it's almost like the more questions you ask, you think you'd get more answers, but in reality, you just get more questions.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Pretty normal thing. Well, it's been great to have you. That's for sure. I know we've had some really cool conversations in your short time of what is this, like week 4 or 5?
5 or 6.
Yeah.
We started back in April.
I was going to say, I feel like we've had some really cool conversations. The two of us, me, you, Pearson, me, you, Tyler, everybody. I feel like you've just brought some really, really cool stuff. So that's why I wanted to bring you on today, was just like get you in front of a camera and get your thoughts down, because I think you have some really awesome things to share, and you've really helped me in a lot of ways in understanding, the weight room side of things and how you attack stuff. So really appreciative for all your insight thus far. But first and foremost, tell the people at home, like let us know you a little bit. Where are you from? How'd you get here? Who the hell are you? All that good shit.
All right. Well, we came here from Philadelphia. Delco, born and raised. For any listeners that know what Delco is,
hell yeah.
If you don't and want a good laugh, look it up on Urban Dictionary. It's a good read.
Okay.
So background's baseball. Played baseball through high school. Had opportunity to play in college, but ended up just focusing on studies.
Nice.
And then from there, kind of knew I wanted to be exercise science performance. A lot of times when people ask me in an interview what got you in this field, I'm like, job where we get to wear shorts and a t-shirt. Like,
that's true.
Better job.
People always compliment that. My girlfriend always thinks it's hilarious. She's like, how do you just go to work every day? Like when she goes in the office, she just wears like nice clothes, and I'm like a dress or something, and I'm like, I'm going to wear Lululemon today. Like, I don't know. That's just what I get to do.
It's the best.
It's such a nice perk.
That's always like my icebreaker on like interviews. You're like, oh, so how'd you get into strength and conditioning, high performance? Like, so that's how I started off. But with that, like I'm like, if you can kind of see, I am not the biggest athlete. Like I'm on the skinnier side, so I needed any edge I could get to be a better pitcher. So I started, training when I was really young, like 14 years old, like 13, 14.
Nice. Okay.
And just fell in love with it, fell in love with the grind, and knew I wanted to work with athletes. So that made it easy to go into exercise science.
Oh yeah.
And biggest thing I think that helped me was I just started getting work experience really early. Like as a sophomore, I remember going to my advisor and was just like, hey, like, do you have anybody that's looking for like free help? Like
in high school?
In college.
I was about to say, I was like, damn, you really got it going early.
Well, if we want to talk high school, so the second personal trainer guy I ever worked with ran like camps and stuff, and so I actually would help him out, like throwing BP. Like he'd have a couple of young guys like he's starting to teach to lift, so like I would help them.
That's pretty cool.
But that was very like informal, money under the table.
Yeah, but me and Gargis talked about that in a few podcasts ago. It was just like how valuable it is to have just like your nose in the shit kind of vibe of like, I have gone through coaching, anywhere from like 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 25-year-olds. Cause I always think about this, like if you can keep a younger athlete or a youth athlete kind of engaged, you can probably coach damn near anybody, because it's just the day and age of like, there's a lot of stimulation going around. If you can keep them bought in and loving the game, you've done your job. So I always think there's like a lot of value in honestly like going out there and like doing kind of the job that like, hey, let me just get my feet wet. Let me go get my hands dirty a little bit and go do something.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool.
And you never know who you're going to meet. So like to keep going off that, the job I ended up getting in college was at an insurance company doing corporate fitness. And met like a really good mentor of mine, a guy named Joe Jordan, who is still there, but he had connections to a guy named Corey Waltz, who was the head strength coach at Haverford College at the time. Okay. He's now the head at the University of Penn.
Sick.
Like he really talked up the program. And so when I got to my senior year and had to do like a formal internship for credits, like I'd heard so much about this guy, Corey Waltz, because
you're like, I gotta go.
Yeah, like our head strength coach, so my undergrad was called Eastern University. The head strength coach at Eastern also learned from this guy, Corey Waltz. So I was like, damn, like I heard such great things, like I want to go figure this out. So you just meet like a lot of the earlier you get, you just meet people, they've got different connections, and then work off of that.
Well, you're very much like me. Like that's what I said before we were shooting this, was just like, I don't think we could probably stay in here. Like we have a little timer going for it's like about an hour, but like I bet you if we could probably sit here all day. Like me and you are the two dudes that are just like extremely talkative, We definitely love to like just collaborate and like have the chatter constantly of like, what's your brain doing, what's mine thinking, and kind of going from there and seeing how we work. So it's very true. Like you seem like the kind of guy that like once you get into that situation, if you're just surrounded by a lot of people will start to notice just because of like your mannerisms, the way that you talk, the way you present yourself. Like this guy's knowledgeable, this guy cares a lot, this guy is very passionate. Those three things right then and there probably explain how you even got to this position. Like because we have a lot of applicants that will apply for the high performance or pitching internships, and it's like I know that like Tyler and I have had conversation of like, wow, you and Pearson are very impressive interns, and it's really, really cool to have you guys. So that's really, really sweet to hear kind of your background, because honestly, I don't think I really knew all too much about it.
Yeah, like my background, I've been around a lot of places, and I look at that as a strength of,
for sure.
I've seen strength and conditioning, high performance, whatever you want to call it. Like I've seen it at like every level, Gen Pop. Like I really like encourage young people to like go get a ton of experiences for two reasons of you really diversify your knowledge and how to apply things, as well as you really start to learn what you do and don't want in a career path.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really, really good point. Yeah. Cause you don't know until you really try it. Like, everybody thinks that like for pro ball, for example, that's been a goal of mine is to get into like, and I got to go coach in the Atlantic League and it was a great experience, but like, I've always wondered what pro ball would look like in that sense. And, obviously I didn't make it on the field as a player. And so it's still in the back of my mind of like, is that what I want to do? Be in the private world, be in a pro org, what have you. But there are some caveats to that come with like, that's a full-time position 12 months out of the year that you're away from family, you're away from loved ones, you're away from if you have kids, a wife, all those things. Like that's the only way you're going to know if you enjoy that is by just going out and doing it. And I think it'll help a lot of people. Just don't be nervous. Like go off to the edge of the diving board and just take a dip and see what happens. Like sometimes you're going to love it and sometimes you're going to hate it, but the only way you're going to know is by trying it. So that's a really, really cool point. Okay, talk to me about Johns Hopkins a little bit, because I know that's where you went to school.
You always where I went to school.
It's not where you went to school, but it's where you interned or worked.
That was my first full-time job.
Yes,
out of
that's what it was.
Out of first full-time strength and conditioning job. That was my first job out of graduate.
Such a cool, like very prestigious academic school, correct?
Yes.
Right. So what'd you do there?
So I was a strength and conditioning coach.
Nice.
Lower level entry. They were just redesigning their whole model of sports performance and strength and conditioning, really.
Cool.
So I got to enter in there, and it's probably one of my favorite experiences that I've had so far. Like,
what stood out to you?
The kids they're adults, like they're college kids, they're adults, but the athletes,
they're
like
grown kids.
You just talk about being prestigious. Like you want to go somewhere where kids are going to ask you the why. Like go to a high academic school, like an Ivy League, at Johns Hopkins, like on the East Coast, the Centennial Conference schools, like all very smart. Like they will ask the why because they want to know.
They're genuinely curious as to like the process in which you get that outcome.
Yes.
Super cool.
They're like wicked smart too. So like we started doing like some velocity based profiling for like 1 rep maxing. And like I'm pulling up like R squared to like see like how true the lines are. They're like, oh, you actually use this stuff in like sports? I'm like, yes.
That's
like,
so awesome. Like this isn't just a textbook thing that's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, no. This is useful. Trust me.
Yeah.
Damn, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, the only reason why I ask is because you've been super involved. Like you've only been here, like we said, about 6 weeks. And you've really taken the time, and Pearson obviously already had one internship where he was already here, but for you, like you kind of came in not really knowing anybody. I know you're a friend of Maddox as well, so that's really cool. But you came in and like dove into data like really quick, like the PGS thing. So we work with a post-grad, what is it? Postgrad Scottsdale, I believe is the name of it. And basically it's in between, like I'm from San Diego, so we don't even have this there, but it's in between high school and college. So you don't burn a year of eligibility, but you still get to go play. It's almost like a summer ball kind of vibe, but you're still getting some reps. We train them here and we get to have them in the fall all the way through the end of their season. You took all of their data of what we got them at. And you, keep in mind, I don't think you worked with them for more than 2 weeks?
Not a long time.
That's what I'm saying.
I was still getting to know some of their names.
Right? Like you probably didn't even know who the hell the coaches were. But we had worked with them for, I don't know, probably 4, 5, 6 months. I mean, it was even before Christmas and Thanksgiving. Like it was way up when, right? And to have you just walk in within 2 weeks and just like, oh, here's all this statistical data that I just grabbed from their force plate stuff, from their pitching velocity, from their body weight to the output that they had on the IMTP and all that really cool shit. You just took that within like 2 weeks and was just like, oh, here's this like really easy digestible thing and sent to their coaches. And I know that they were so fired up. And to see some of the gains was fucking awesome. Like some of those kids, like shout out Harris McCann, like started at like 83, 82 and was like pretty weak. and left at like 88 and like way stronger. So something that was like, I was like, damn, like this guy means business from the jump, dog. I love that. That was super cool.
I will. I do have to be honest. Of the Maddox did give me the heads up. Like, hey, it'd be really good if we had like a pre and post report of like. Where
Yeah, but you took it upon yourself to figure it out, though. I mean, shit. It's kind of like lifting. It's like I gave you the program, but you lifted the weight, right? So I gave you the idea, but you ultimately have to execute.
I'm a big person of like just give acknowledgement to
give a little because I
can't take full responsibility of like creating the idea.
Good friend.
This would be really cool. Like
good friend, good coworker. We appreciate that. Yeah, no, but that was super cool. So I could tell that you have like a really in-depth understanding and like you care about the right shit. Like it's really easy to kind of get here and just like get lost in the sauce of all the resources and all the things that we have. But you like really took it to heart and like went like head basically right into the water. We're just like, all right, let's just go. Let's just see what happens. So it was really cool to see that. Which brings me to my next point. So we were kind of talking before. It was just like, and we've been talking a lot over this last 6 weeks, man. Like you've really helped me. You and Pearson, Ty, all you guys. Like, so one of my things is like trying to get better in the weight room side of things, so I can understand why you guys program the way that you guys do, for one, but also to just understand how to like look at a throw differently than just like, okay, it's this specific deficiency, right? Like a low arm action, right? I didn't know this, but like Tyler and you and Nick kind of educated me that like, okay, overhead, like being able to get your arm out of low abduction, right? So a very low starting point for your arm, and getting it higher really doesn't, sometimes it'll have to do with your shoulder. I thought it was just all shoulder cap. So I'm like, shoulder cars, get their shoulder moving. And Tyler's like, no. Like, imagine you're just like a submarine thrower, right? And you like bend over right here, you're just crunched over. Imagine if that person just stood up. All of a sudden their arm gets flipped up, right? So understanding like the anatomy of that was just like small example, but really, really cool. How has that kind of worked out? Like how have our conversations been, and like how has that shaped your thinking at all? Has it changed anything? I know it's been a short-term thing, but like how have those conversations been and what have you taken away so far?
What I've taken away is there's a lot more to learn.
always.
Like kind of like what we were talking about. I think this was like the end of last week, talking about like the Zercher squats and positioning guys that need to get more anterior loaded, of like, in coming from like more of S&C background than true baseball, like you hear so much because in society we're constantly in this position, like we're crunched over.
Bad.
So like the natural tendency is like, okay, we want to probably prevent those positions, but now again, that's like a general approach to probably like 75, 90% of the population. But now we're working with such a specific population that, you know, hey, like if we've got guys that are already too big, like too puffed at the chest, like we gotta round them off, because what are they going to do when they're throwing at release? They're going to be going into that flexion position. So just like picking your brain on the why to do that, because it was so counterintuitive to me at first relative to, you know, other populations working.
Yeah, I remember you just being like, why the fuck is he Zercher squatting? Like, is that necessary? And I was just like, well, if you look at his throw, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh, that kind of makes, okay, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I think that's something that you guys have kind of changed my mind on too, is just like, I wanted to understand why is a certain guy doing a high to low chop and the other guy's doing low to high. Like, what does that matter? What is that difference? And so I really make an effort I'm sure it's annoying at times, just like get over here and literally just ask you guys questions. I think that's been super. I think that's just something in general in like the baseball field or like the community of baseball that's kind of, there's always been, in my opinion, a little disconnect between like high performance and the skill side. Like obviously the high performance, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is like your guys' goal is to create a robust athlete that is able to adapt to a lot of different environments, that is able to put out output within a specific characteristic within their throw, right? So like you're not going to have everybody just lift like a bodybuilder. Like you also have to train specific things. I know it's not baseball specific or pitching specific, but there are things that you have to kind of hit on that's different than just like going in there and bench pressing all the time. I think that's been something that is really passionate for me, that you guys have helped me out a lot with. And I think it's just in baseball in general. Like, have you seen that like at, you know, with your colleges and all your experiences? Like, I feel like we do a really good job of it here, but there's always more room to grow. I feel like there's so much to uncover in there.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just a baseball thing. Like I think it's true across a plethora of sports. Like
really?
I think you'll see that with soccer, you'll see it with volleyball, with football, that there's not the programs that do it the best, the teams that do it the best, there's so much communication between HP
Just
and
constant.
skill of knowing what is the demand of practice, what do you need this guy to do, what am I doing, and
Yeah.
how do we create the best programming to get them to where we ultimately
Yeah.
want them to be. That's what's really, in my opinion, separates the best programs from the programs that are still figuring a couple things out.
Yeah.
Is that cohesion of like a true, they talk about like a true high performance team or high
Yeah.
performance model, where what that is, it's, and we use the term high performance here, that's not to say we're at the top. Like you have one person overseeing everything, but then
Sure.
everything is on like an even playing field, right?
Oh, for
you've
sure.
got if we're out of college, you've got the athletic trainers, you've got the docs, you've got the
Yep.
head coach, you've got the skill coach, you've
Yep.
got the S&C coach, and you're all working as a unit.
Yeah.
And that's where there's so much disconnect of, there's not as much cohesion as I feel like there should be at a lot of places.
Okay.
Because same thing is true if we're returning a kid from play, like from injury and like UCL,
Yeah.
like where are they at in their stage of UCL?
So
because I probably shouldn't double up on the things he's going to do in PT.
Yep.
But also like, what is he not doing in PT that I can give him so that we're getting him in as good a shape as we can by the time he's fully cleared?
Really good point. Yeah, I would agree, man. Like that's a good point. It's almost like one brain compared to 12 brains.
Mm-hmm.
Now the next step to that for me is like being able to speak the same language, because this is something that I've struggled with as a skill trainer on the throwing side, is just like being able to understand how you guys think, and when you guys look at a throw, what do you see? What do I see? And then being able to like work together in that. So like I see an athlete that struggles of getting in and out of flexion. They're just really, really poor flexion to extension in their spine. I want you guys to be able to like, I'm seeing that and you guys go, oh, cool. Why you guys can tell me, why is that important? Like, what does that impact the other limbs? What does that impact the other joints? And I more than likely, like most of the time, I end up seeing it in the biomechanics. It's like, if a guy's got really poor extension, like we just hit on, like they really typically have really low horizontal shoulder abduction. So it's like there are some pieces that we can catch with our eyes, but it's really imperative that like we don't just like on the skill side just slap a bunch of like not meaningless drills, but like just slap drills on things that really can be fixed in the high performance area. And I think that's something that you guys do a phenomenal job of. And I want to make sure that I'm in the know with that stuff, because the last thing I want to do is be the dinosaur at the back end and just be like, that fucking guy doesn't know anything anymore. And he's basically just like throwing drills on people, which isn't going to do any good for our athletes.
Yeah. I mean, I think a perfect example of that, like we get some athletes, like they can jump through the roof. And,
Yeah.
like they'll have good size, so the power output's good.
Yeah.
But then like you watch them throw and like they can't uncoil their like foot plants.
Yeah.
Like where on our side, I mean, not like to our horn, like our side looks really good. So the disconnect isn't, we got to get them stronger, more powerful. It's now, how do we blend them pitching the way they need to, and us being able to create some sort of a plan or a drill or constraint that fits the type of, for example, like rotation of the hips, the shoulders that we need them to, that aligns with what you're ultimately trying to do.
Do you feel like that's kind of getting into the line of like being, I hate this, but like, people say there's no such thing as like sports specific, or no such thing as like baseball, like pitching specific lifting. Where is that line of like, what's like the better term in your opinion for that? Because honestly, like, I don't even know if there's a right answer for this, but like, you see a guy that has very, like you said, plane of rotation. Like what would be the correct term for that, of like getting that person into that plane of rotation that you want, and kind of reinforcing that pattern in the weight room? And then on my end, also doing it in the throwing side. Like what would be that lifting? Like, is it considered sports specific?
Well, that's where my thought goes to that sports specific idea.
Okay.
But then also thinking in terms of like macro periodization model, like, do we need to be sports specific right now? And then this almost turns into like a debate of, well, if I got a guy, like, because we're in May, college off season's about to start. Like, if I've got a guy that
really
pitched 50, 60 innings, he's coming and he's just going to develop. Like, he's not playing summer ball.
Yep.
I'm not really worried about sports specific, especially if he's a kid that still needs development.
Yeah.
Like, we need to just rebuild foundation, accumulation, hypertrophy.
Good point.
Relay that foundation, work on strength, work on power.
Yeah.
Peak and taper. Now, granted, if we get a guy that's like fully developed, we could probably spend a little more time on sports specific stuff, because he's got the foundation of strength. He's got really good power. But then if, again, looking at like a macro over the span of 12 months, like as we're getting closer and closer to the season, that's when I want to probably start mimicking more positions in the weight room to resemble some sort of demand.
Really wide funnel in the beginning. I love this analogy.
Yes.
I think it was you and a couple other guys that have been talking about this. Is like, we want to go from very broad in the beginning of just like creating a very robust athlete of like in all sorts of different planes, all sorts of different movements. And as you get closer, like you just said, getting it closer to what their actual movement patterns are and starting to funnel that this way. So where by the time that they go to school or they go to their org or wherever, they're like, wow, I feel really, really primed. I'm not like, it's not like I just came off deadlifting only. It's like, no, I'm doing some like speed work. I'm doing something that's going to reinforce the patterns and the habits that I need when I'm in competition.
Yeah. So that's how I think of it a lot is what time of year are we at and what does this athlete need that he's also not getting elsewhere? Right? Because if you're doing a ton of technical rotation stuff and tons of reps, also like, does it make sense for me to pile more rotational reps on top of that too?
I guess it just depends. Like Tyler put it this way the other day in a conversation with me. It was like, the sliding scale. I think you were over there, right? When we were talking about like overload and underload plyos and like kind of when to give them. And I thought that like in the beginning when I started training guys and it was kind of like, okay, overload is to keep arm stress low. Yes. But there's a very big sliding scale of like, you don't need to just train only accumulation or only strength. You might just have like the sliding scale of 0 to 100. And you're able to just kind of turn the volume up or down or wherever you need it to. So you're like maybe you're 80% accumulation, but you're probably still getting 10% of plyometrics, 10% of speed work or power work, right? At some point, you start to shift them as the season, as you mentioned, kind of goes on, or you get closer to competition. You start moving that sliding scale to like, okay, now I need 65 or 70% of power work and 30% of my strength work.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool analogy. It really helped me grasp it a lot, to be honest.
Zach Dakin talked a lot about that when I was at TCU as an intern.
You interned there with Dakin?
Yeah,
dude, I had a homie that just went there this past like school year. I think it was like last spring or last fall. He raved about that place.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was.
I heard it was
awesome.
huge.
It was great. I ended up being a little bit more football focused than baseball, just because it was still during COVID. So unless you were on the football team during the summer training, there weren't many athletes because this was during the summer.
Yeah.
But what like the analogy Dakin used a lot was like filling the bucket. So like if your bucket, all the way is 100%, like this time of year might be 60% hypertrophy, 20% strength, 20% power sprint or, power work, speed work, whatever you want to call it. But then as we're getting more and more into the season, like, hey, the accumulation might be only 10% of the work. We're going to do 50% strength. And so you're changing the contents of the bucket so that like the bucket's always going to be filled, but what's it filled with?
Yeah,
like,
it's always 100%. Or you could even put it this way, like you have 3 buckets, right?
Yeah.
And there's only, if you put all of them in one, it's going to be 100%. And these are at 0. So you just got to like slowly start to like, chemist it basically and start putting water here, here, and here.
Yeah.
Until it just makes sense and like matches up with the skill side as well as like their time of year.
Yeah.
That's
and
a really
going
good
with that, like again, like the rotation, like if I know he's throwing and rotating a lot, he's filling that bucket already.
Doesn't need any more.
Do I need to do it more? Probably not. Like there's always some cases.
A smidge, here and there. No, that's a really cool way because I kind of shied away. The example I was getting to with that was just like the overload stuff, especially early in the off season, was like, okay, a lot of guys are going to go into accumulation because they're just like, it's a long season, need to get some just raw strength back, some weight, some of the bare necessities there, and once you get that back, it's like, okay, I thought it was just like, okay, it's just solely focused on accumulation. This guy's just getting housed in the weight room. Tyler's like, no, why would I do that? Like, there's still other things I have to hit. So he was like, there's nothing wrong with, our overload set is blue, orange, 450, 350, purple, which is 275, and then red, which is 225. So that's our heaviest set. So you're never really going, a baseball is 140 grams. You're never really even getting close to that. You're 85 grams over that consistently, right? Tyler's like, why? Like, there are certain days that you're still going to want to train that speed, that power side of being able to, like, rotate fast, get the arm to move fast, send that signal. It just might not be 85% of the time. It might be 1 hybrid A, 2 hybrid A's out of 20 throwing, let's just say 20 throwing days, you only need 3 of those, right? Yeah. That's still enough to like sprinkle the Salt Bay, a little bit in there to where you're getting a little bit of everything. Yeah. So I thought that's a really cool way to put it, that with the buckets. I never heard that, but I have heard Zach Dakin, one of my really good friends that works at another facility. He's just a great mind in my opinion. His name's Taylor Davis. I think he's really, really intelligent, trains guys really well. He's awesome. He's taught me a lot when I had some time working with him, and man, he interned there as well. And like, I think Dakin's one of his like mentors as well. And I'm like, I've just never heard of anybody saying anything bad about the
No,
guy.
he's great, and he's really open to like wanting conversation. Like I remember one thing he said, which like you don't hear. I feel like you don't hear a lot from like supervisors, bosses, and stuff. He's like, no, like I want to hear feedback of like if something's not going well, and like even if it's on me, because
That is
how's it going to
awesome.
get better?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you like always know that and hear that, but like to hear that from someone that like is above you and like genuinely wants to hear that back was like he makes you feel like really comfortable knowing
Yeah.
that like it's okay to ask him questions and to like disagree with certain things.
For
like,
sure.
Be professional, have a conversation
Dude,
about it.
I can't wait. So like later today, little insider trading. When you work at Driveline, we have these things called good to learns. They're basically just like the trainers and the employees that work here. We're all pushing each other to learn a new skill, whether it be the one that we're attending. Are you going to attend today?
Yeah, I'm planning to.
God, yes. So exciting. At 3 p.m., it's a motor learning book club. I think it's super awesome. It just helps us, like it helps me, understand like constraints and how I can manipulate certain things. I'm sure it helps you guys for like variability. We talked about that with like retrieval instead of just like, man, that was a lot yesterday.
That was when Nick started getting into the like the neuro terminology. I was like,
he can cook, dude. Yeah, but like all that stuff. So those good to learns are really, really useful. But it's like the thing that we signed beforehand was just like you have to be open to like a coach saying like, hey, I disagree with this. And it's not like I'm saying, hey, screw you, Mike. I think you're full of shit. It's like, no, dude, like just like you when you asked me with the Zerchers, like, why the hell you got him doing Zerchers? Or why do you think that? It's like I have to be, as a coach, I have to be confident to answer that, right? I have to be like, this is my thought process. And I have to be open to being wrong, right? Like there's plenty of times where I'm not going to be there's no such thing as the perfect coach. I don't know if I said this last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, but I had an athlete, it was actually Peyton. And Peyton's like, man, like, why do you, what's up with all this new stuff? Like we keep doing we're doing new stuff again, right? And I was like, man, if I'm being honest with you, I was not as good of a coach 6 months ago that I am today. I really believe that like in 6 months, I've changed a lot as a coach, the way that I look at a throw, the way that I just coach in general. And I think that's a good thing. You have to be open to being wrong. And I think that, on your guys' side too, it's like you got to work with an athlete of being like, hey, I don't like back squatting. Well, why? Okay, let me figure out what I can do to still achieve that same thing, but I'm going to work with you and I want to be a team rather than it being like I am telling you to do something. I feel like that doesn't really resonate very well with athletes.
No, that's where like I think one of the things we try our best and overall do a good job of like tailoring the program to like what's going to be in the best interest of the athlete, like getting them buy-in. Like if you hate back squatting, like does it make sense to force you to back squat?
Like that's going to be so unenjoyable.
Yeah, like are you really going to be giving your best effort like working on developing max force? Let's say we're in strength phase, like if you hate the exercise.
Exactly.
Like, probably not, but also like it does get tough. Like for anyone that's like in a college or a high school setting listening, like that's tough if you got like 30, 40, 50 athletes and you design a program, like you kind of got to be like, hey, like we're back squatting and here are the reasons why we are back squatting, why I value this exercise.
Yeah. And at some point, as an athlete, you guys kind of like, somebody asked me this day, I had a conversation and there was like, I was like, hey, how's the weight room been going? He's like, it's fucking whatever. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I was not a big fan of the weight room either. I'll be very honest. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I did it because it was going to benefit me as an athlete. And I told him, I was like, look, man, like you don't have to love it. You don't have to love it. It's okay. But there are times in life where you're going to have to just do shit that you don't want to do. You have to do things because at the end of the day, if it's going to improve you, it's like getting up early and making breakfast. Yeah. Sometimes it's annoying because you're tired. Yeah. But it's going to start your freaking day off right. You're going to feel like I had breakfast this morning. I went to the gym. I get way more juice out of my day when I go with my dad in the morning to go lift compared to the days where I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a mental thing, a psychological thing that I just feel like I accomplish more, whatever. But at some point, you just got to put yourself in the mindset of like, all right, I'm going to bite my lip and I'm going to fucking get through this because I know it's going to better me.
Yeah.
So I think that's where athletes can go and like, like you said, when it's just like, I don't like back squatting. It's like, great. Not everybody likes to throw 80 either, right? Well, it's your choice if you want to throw 80 or 90. So this back squat's going to help probably.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. The other thing I wanted to bring up to you was like so you brought up some really cool stuff and I wanted you to touch on it today. It was the plyometrics and coordination work with that. So this kind of ties into our motor learning stuff later today, but to give the folks at home kind of what we've been talking about. So I don't know if there's any high school or college coaches listening, like you ever get that athlete that you kind of have them and they're just not, you get them onto a mountain. It's just like, man, like great output, strong kid, can throw relatively hard, maybe. But man, it just doesn't look graceful. It just doesn't look right. And it's pretty common, wouldn't you say, for like a high school or college guy, especially high school guys. Like the body's just changing so much. What we talked about this yesterday, and you brought up something, and I want you to talk about it. It's just like, I saw that in a throw the other day, and you go, yeah, well, I bet you if I did this with him, he wouldn't be very good at it. So what is something on the weight room side that you would kind of like use as a way for like variability and being able to get them into those, I guess, more coordination?
Yeah. Like, well, name drops, but like I can think like there was a guy here, pretty high level athlete. I remember thinking like watching him, I was like, I don't think he could skip.
Can't skip?
Like he did not like what he was not specifically trying to skip,
Okay.
but watching him do other things that were rhythmic, I'm like, I don't think if we asked him to like skip or do like a lot of the like movement stuff I naturally default to is like Zach Dakin's like 3D movement prep with like, you know, the gallops with like your front legs doing 2 contacts to the back leg doing 1.
Okay.
For anyone that's familiar with that stuff, I'm like,
Is that the 2-1-2 thing?
Yeah, the
talk
2-1-2,
about? Okay.
the 1-2s. Gargus knows.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say because you keep saying that you're like, oh, there's a 3-1-2, there's a 2-1-2, there's a 1-2. I was like,
I'll show you some.
The
of
fuck is
videos.
my head?
I'll show you some of the
Okay.
videos and you'll get
I was like,
what
what if I missed something?
but just like the rhythm and the coordination, and I'm like this guy's pretty accomplished baseball player.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he should have a lot more rhythm. And so
Really?
like, how do we teach that? Like, you've got to put guys in scenarios to challenge them and also coach them. Like one of the things that's kind of tough with that is like, because a lot of it's like movement focused with that, like rhythm, skips, karaoke patterns and stuff. Like you need space, which Arizona, we're a little smaller facility.
Yeah.
But challenging their movement and then also putting them in scenarios where they can see it. Like if I have Daulton Barry try to, you know, if he learns what the heck the 2-1 karaoke is and all, like, and he's struggling, but he's the only person doing it, he probably doesn't know if he's doing it correctly or not. So like, I think a team setting or having other people around is going to be really important to see like, hey, that athlete does it really, really well. Dude. Look, watch, learn. Like, what can you pick up from just watching him? And then, you know, as a coach, like I'll add some cues in.
A little osmosis.
Yes, but like having that comparison to like compare yourself to of like, hey, like, do I feel like I'm doing it as fluidly as someone that we know is really good at?
Well, that's crazy. My brain goes to so I had a trainer back in San Diego that I lifted with, and he was a speed coach. I was not the most athletic fellow. I grew really, really fast. I was like 6'1", 145, dude. I was a twiggy little dude. But I was always just like uncoordinated, unathletic, and I just kind of was like hoping one day that I kind of attributed just getting tall really fast, just like uncoordinated. But I remember training with now shortstop, cool dude, good friend of mine, Nick Allen, who's a shortstop for the Braves now. And there was a couple other dudes, Trenton Brooks, who played college baseball, professional baseball as well. I think he's in AAA with the Padres. You know, there was a bunch of pro guys that I was going there with, right? And I'm doing sprint work with these dudes. Nick Allen's incredibly fast, by the way. I mean, you could put, I played professional overseas compared to an MLB guy. You could tell at 15, 16, 17, those dudes could move.
Yeah.
And I hated being the jackass that couldn't seem to figure out, like we used to do these cone drills, and I just couldn't figure out how to do them. I was just so uncoordinated, but it made me irritated in a good way. I was like, I want to get better at this. So the team setting and pushing that environment is such an underutilized thing, and honestly undervalued probably, of just like, yeah, don't be the lone wolf that just goes to lift on your own. Yeah. Like it's cool sometimes, but like go be around 4 or 5 other guys that are better than you and go learn from them. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. I think we're gonna do that. I think we're gonna get outside this year.
I hope so, dude. Like I'm pumped to like take some of the different resources that like I've used at different places, like combine it.
Yes,
and, like,
please
do it in like the private sector where like everyone's here because they want to be here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're not
like, you have to be there.
Yeah, you're not showing up to that because like if you're not invested in that, you're not showing up.
Well, you sign up for the class. You know, like every day you sign up for a slot here, and it's like, I didn't tell you to do that. Well, I did tell you to do that if you're going to come in. But I don't force anybody to come in here. I don't force anybody to lift in here. Like, hey, this is your career. You can't lift the weight for them. I can't throw the ball for them. I can't tell them to eat, sleep, get enough water, all those little things. It's ultimately up to our athletes. We can obviously push guys and help them, get into the right direction. But I think that's ultimately up to the athletes. And I do think that, like, if we go outside, man, that neural priming that we did with Pearson, the last podcast, and like hearing his thought, meshing it with what I'm seeing and throwing, that's the true collaboration that you hit on earlier that I think is really sick. I think that's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah. And then to kind of segue, because I could we had like 2 different conversations about this. The one we had yesterday, and the one we had like last week on the pitching side. And so like the other part of like movement pattern learning is like the coordination. Like, does your brain even know what your body's doing?
Yeah.
And so like this is where we were going. Like I showed you, like the goat drill, which again, like is it a speed drill? Is it a drill drill? Like no, it's trying to get your brain as primed as possible because there's so many different stimuli going on.
I thought that was, I mean, honestly, I'm a toddler when it comes to this. Guess what part I took away and I can't stop thinking about?
The owl.
The fucking owl, dude. There's a video of an owl and this dude has it and it's like the core is stabilizing it, right? And it's just like the head is so primed on its prey that like the dude has its body and it's just doing this and the head's just never moving. That is the damn coolest. It's just, that's hyper focused right there. That's like, I know exactly what I need to do right now.
But like, I mean, for the goat drill, something Cal Deese came up with, but like, it doesn't even need to be that. Like Nick talking about the juggling stuff, like things that are going to get your brain firing and having to be like cognizant of like mind-body connection, your body's like external environmental space. Like,
for sure.
Get the brain firing before you're going to actually start moving.
Yeah, which brings me to another point, which we brought up yesterday, I think, was like, when we talked about bullpens, dude, you had a phenomenal take on that. Oh my God. I'd never even thought about this. I mean, it's just I don't even know how I didn't think about it, to be honest with you. Because it's just like, it's one of those things that's like right here, but you're just like looking everywhere but there. But like, I'm sure you've had this happen is like, as an athlete, like after you get done pitching with a game, it's like physically you're still there, but mentally you're just like, I'm alive. I barely made it through that, right?
Yeah.
I feel like in those moments, like, your brain, we need to train our brain more. And I think that's what you're kind of hitting on with like, you know, okay, when I lift up this blue card, you're going to go right. When I do red, you're going to go left.
Yep.
I'm going to hold them behind my back and I'm just going to boop, and you got to adapt and sprint that way. You're going to sprint at me and then turn right. I think that like the bullpen thing you brought up was really cool because, so to give a little background, sorry, I keep saying this. Background to it was like in bullpens, right? It's very easy to just have a bullpen kind of just go on as like, hey, throw 4 or 5, you know, your 4 pitch types, throw 3 a pop, see how they're moving, and then go to like 2 batters. You get your 30 pitch bullpen in, right? In my opinion, kind of a waste. And you were like, what if like we could randomize it and we could put guys in a situation where they're like, they don't even know what pitch they're going to throw yet. They don't know what the count is. They don't know what batter's up. But we can describe that context to them. And when they get to that point in their bullpen, you know, yes, you're going to have your couple to warm up, feel out your pitches, whatever, just like you would in a bullpen. And then you said, all right, I was like, okay, explain it to me. And you go, all right, it's 2-2, bottom of the 7th, third baseman's up. It's the 6-hole hitter, and he's grounded out to third and pop fly to left. And I was just like, oh my God, that's a lot of context to like, I'm here now. I have to think about that. What pitch am I going to throw this guy? Yeah. And then we go off, and I was like, okay, fastball outside. And you go, okay, fouled it off. Okay, now what do I throw? Dude, how many times? I can't tell you how many times you do that in a bullpen. Like even here, it's just like, hey, what pitch are you gonna throw now? It's 0-1. He hit a fucking bomb to left for foul though.
Yeah.
And the guy just go, oh.
Yeah.
What happens when you're gonna get into that situation?
Yeah. Like the way I came up with that, like from being a pitcher, like I didn't throw hard. Like I topped out like round 80. Like I think the best I ever hit was probably like 82.
Sure.
So like I very early learned to pitch backwards.
Yeah.
How often are high school guys looking for a curveball?
Never.
So like if I'm going to throw curveball first pitch, I wanted the hitter to be as uncomfortable as possible.
Yeah, just like mind fuck. What is coming right now?
If I see a curveball first pitch, are they going to swing at it? Probably not, because they're a high school kid. They want fastballs.
Cheap
right?
0-1.
Cheap 0-1. Okay, cool. Now what's he going to be looking for? Well, he just threw a curveball. So what are the odds he's going to throw? He's probably going to throw a fastball.
Right.
No, I'm going to throw something different. Like I wanted to pitch. I was a 4-seam fastball, so something straight. Change up to set off that speed.
Sure.
My knuckle curve was like a 12-6 break, slider, and a 2-seam. So I had a pitch that could go everywhere. So I would literally think like 2-3 pitches ahead of like, okay, I'm 0-1. I'm going to attack him with a slider outside because I want him to see that angle. And then the next pitch, he's going to see everything that's going outside of him. I'm going to jam him inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Damn. Yeah, that's like the I think me and Gary touched on a little bit, is like the psychology of baseball. I was just like, that's the game within the game that like, you know, we talk about like the best thing we can do for athletes and like typically the best stimulus we can give them is just go play the game more. You got to go play the game. At some point, training is a means to an end. You're training a quality, characteristics, whatever, movement patterns that you want. But ultimately, like, it doesn't fucking matter if you do it really, really well in training if you can't do it in the game.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Like, I would much rather have a guy that throws 85 in bullpens and can't throw a strike, right? Yes, we're of course going to focus on that. We're going to train that. Yeah. But if the guy goes in the game and he's 92 and dots everything, it's like, I can't really yell at the guy because he does it when the lights come on. Yeah. So I think I thought that was a really cool thing. So maybe like if there's any coaches out there that you're struggling, like a guy is struggling, right? Like command is just out the wazoo. He just can't find the zone, right? Gamify his bullpen somehow. Put a hitter in there. Put one of your POs. I know you guys got to, I know we got to shout out all the red shirts, dog. Put a helmet on and get your ass in there and just don't swing. And just give your homie that's trying to find the zone, might be a little uncomfortable, so go in there with some gear on. Just give him a shot and put him in some tough situations. Be like, all right, it's 3-0. You better land 3 pitches. Yeah. That's really hard. And sometimes it's got to be a breaking ball. Yeah. So I think that was a really cool point you made the other day. I thought that was like, damn, like I'm going to start doing that tomorrow.
If you really want the red shirts to get, help with that pitcher out, tell them like, hey, you're going to start crowding the plate. Get them used to like the different stances. Like have a wide open stance.
Variability,
just so this guy can vivisually see it and picture it.
Damn, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I did something similar with an indie ball guy that was in here. We've spoken about before. It's Aaron Glickstein. Really cool dude. But his last 2 bullpens before he threw lives, he just was like, hey, I kind of want to like get a little, like a little bit of adrenaline going. I go, okay. I was like, all right, what's your favorite team? He goes, I like the Mets. I go, okay. You want to face 3 hitters today? He goes, yeah. I go, all right, we have advanced scouting reports, right? So we get the little game cards, right, that we make and send to our pro athletes. And I was like, all right, you're going to face Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and Francisco Lindor. And he was like, what? Like, he was like, that's so sick. That's so fucking cool. Dude, being able to like do that and put him in that mindset, I was like, all right, here's your game card. You get to study it. I gave him to him before the bullpen, so he was able to look him over, look at him a little bit, see like, okay, I have a general idea of what I want to start Soto out with. Like, good luck, first of all. But it's like, dude, like how cool is that to be able to put yourself in that situation and be like, when that time comes up, when I got to face that 4-hole lefty hitter, that's just a beast. I know exactly what I dominated with in that bullpen. Yeah. It's like that stress isn't there near as much.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, when I started doing this, and like I wasn't doing it with the intent of like mentally training. Dude, I was that kid. I'd be in like my living room, like pretending I'm throwing a pitch.
That's so sick.
Game 7 of the World Series. I'm throwing a complete game, but I got 2. Like I would like set the whole scenario, and, like pitch by pitch. Like that's how much of like a nerd I was. Like I would just do that in my living room, where like the TV remote was my baseball bat.
Yep. Dude, I did the same thing. It's. I feel like we're all like little kids in that way. Even now, like even still, like I'll go throw for fun, and it's not like I'm trying to throw hard, but every once in a while I'll go out there and try and rip on low to mid, mid to upper 80s, and it hurts sometimes because I don't warm up because I'm an idiot. But it's so much fun to just like go out there and still like a game you got to enjoy. So putting yourself in the situations, man, like if you're struggling with that, like put yourself in those situations, like really try, like sit down, find, imagine put yourself in that context. Imagine what does the air smell like? What does the crowd sound like? What do they, smell like a hot dog out there? What do you got going on? What's the count? What's the batter? What did he just do to the last guy? Yeah. All those things, man, like it's just going to get your brain into a situation in your body to where when that happens, you aren't fazed by it. Instead of it being a 10 out of 10 huge thing to your brain, it's like, I've been here before. It's only a 3. I'm good. I roll out of bed. It's like the stone cold killers of like Kobe Bryant, dude.
I love
Kobe, fucking MJ. Like, dude.
The guys that show no emotion are my favorite.
Just like heart never skips a beat.
Yeah. Like,
so sick.
Some people love Bill Belichick. Some people hate him. Like, dude, that guy had ice in his veins.
Unbelievable. Like, every time.
Doesn't show emotion.
Never.
Like, that's what I
smiled one time and everybody was like, oh, like, holy shit.
Like the guys that have the ice in their veins and like nothing phases them, like those are the dogs I want. I want
hell yeah. Dude, I use this analogy of like, you are a metal samurai. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to, that the road ahead of you is going to suck. Sometimes it's going to be, you're going to, in baseball, you're going to fail a ton, right? And especially in training, you should really be failing a lot more than you're succeeding. That there's snipers out there that are going to shoot at you. You have people that are on the front lines, I imagine like a World War II kind of thing, and you're just made out of metal and the bullets just bounce off you. Yeah. And it's like, when you go down there and you win the war, it's like, yeah, I expected to. It's just no big deal. You're just like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Applaud yourself. Be like, I did all that work. But like at the end of the day, that's your expectation for yourself. Yeah. So really, really, really cool analogies there, man. Shit. Is there anything else you want to kind of get into? Any questions for me or anything that you had for just like Driveline as a whole, or anything you're looking forward to getting into while you're here, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm trying to get into looking at some force plate data because since we've got the force plate mounds over there,
Yeah.
ultimately what I want to try to investigate is like
Okay,
what metrics over there with like lead leg block. Because
Okay.
like what got me started on this was going through foundations of pitching, and there was like
Dude,
that one.
you're a dog.
There was like that one
Fucking high
slide.
performance guy going through the foundations of pitching.
You give me access to a free resource, I'm gonna
Good
take
point.
advantage
Yeah,
of
very true.
it. But basically, it was talking about how like the force going into the lead leg was actually a better indicator of throwing velocity than the force produced on the back leg.
On the back leg.
That's
Okay.
that's what I recall reading. Like if I'm
Okay.
butchering that, someone correct me,
Eh,
call me out.
whatever.
But it just got me thinking: if the lead leg is that important, like how do we know what a good lead leg is? And like we have our reports, but from like a force standpoint,
Yeah.
is there anything that we can connect and correlate between what the lead leg is doing on the pitching mound
Yeah.
and what we see in our high performance data?
That's really
And
cool.
then if we know like, hey, yeah, like this guy's lead leg block's not very good, and we also know like if this is a correlation, what we know is stiffness isn't very good in the hop test.
So
Like,
we can start to kind of like,
we need to build stiffness.
Yeah,
you know,
for
so
sure.
now we can start
Huh.
like almost like we were saying this like yesterday, like make a program specifically
to
for
attack
guys.
that
Like,
weakness.
that's the end point. We're in like
Yeah.
the way early. Like I'm
Yeah.
still trying to gather all the data. To
Yeah,
run this,
no,
but,
no,
like
for sure.
investigating into what can we find between the force plate mounds on like the force plates in the pitching mount and the force plates we have HP.
Yeah.
Like, what can we tailor them to help us better the programming?
Yeah,
both on the pitching
that would
side
be
and
really cool. Because like as a skill trainer, when I look at a biomechanics report and I look at a block leg, it doesn't tell me the force they're producing necessarily. It just tells me like how much their lead knee is either extending or flexing as their like after foot plant.
Yeah.
So that would be really cool, man. Because like
Yeah.
it's easy to eat. Like, is it a mechanical thing? Is it a strength thing? I guess
Yeah.
you're gonna find out.
Well, that's kind of the hope is like again like I'm really early into looking in this. Like
Yeah.
I talked to Whitey and Tyler about this.
Yeah.
Like we're not sure what we're gonna find. Like we might not find
Might not find anything. Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of if we know lead leg block's that important, like
Definitely.
can we find discrepancies? Like
Yeah.
you know, could it even be just on the counter movement jump? Hey, is there the guy favoring
His
one
opposite
side
side. Yeah.
too much? Like
Damn.
like I was looking at it yesterday. There's so many metrics. I'm like, I want to run that and that.
That
and
and that, just like everything, dude. You like shout out to you, man, because that's really cool because that kind of embodies like OG Driveline aura and mentality. The old saying was like, look under every rock. I am going to turn over every stone because a lot of times you're going to turn over a rock and find fucking worms and dirt. It's basically worthless, right? However, it only takes being right one time. And as soon as you're right that way, you might look under 100 rocks, but the 101st rock that you look under, you find a gold coin and it's from some random time period that's worth $1 million. You're like, it makes it all worth it to look under the last 100, right?
Yes.
So I think that's really cool by you, man. Like kudos to you. I'm excited for that. I think we're coming up on our hour right here. But dude, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I'm super stoked. We'll have to bring you back on to report on if you find anything. If not, I don't fucking care. We got to get you back on here because you always have interesting things to talk about.
Awesome.
So do you have anything for mom and pop? You got anything for the people before we get out of here?
Just you know, missing the family and friends back east. Like
Goated.
that's most of my friends are still over there.
Hell
so, missing you guys and just you know, trying to do some
Borrowing.
stuff.
We might return him. Maybe not. I don't know.
I'm
Depends.
loving Scottsdale. It's gonna be
It's a good place, huh? Damn. All right, man. Well, sweet. I appreciate your time. Thank you for stopping. Thank you for always pushing me as a coach. You know, like I said, you've been here only 6 weeks. I've been here for about around Driveline for about a decade now, maybe some more. But like to have new, fresh ideas, new perspectives, to have somebody that's willing to like, why? Just fucking ask that question is the damn coolest thing. So I can always appreciate that, and don't stop doing that. Like, please continue to push me. I'm sure I'm going to continue bothering you to like educate me on just everything that I possibly can. So yeah, for all you guys listening, thank you guys. We really appreciate it. If you guys have any things that you guys want to ask Mike, feel free to drop it in the comments. If you guys have anything that you guys want me or any requests of us to kind of dive into in the following episodes or the ones coming up, hit a comment. Let me know. Hit me up on Instagram or any of the clips that you guys see. Let me know if there's anything you guys want us to look into. That's what we're here for. We want to do that. We want to be able to give as much data, information, and insight as we possibly can and work with you guys. So appreciate you guys. We look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks a lot, homie. You're the man.